The Yu-Gi-Oh manga that plays by the rules. Let's watch.
For people who grew up watching Yu-Gi-Oh, and especially those who are still active fans to this day, it was always pretty clear that the action in the anime was hardly accurate to the actual game. This is partly
That's the thing. That's the thing for me. Why is that the anime nothing like the actual game? I understand why.
because the card game that you can actually play came to exist well after the manga started, only actually coming to exist at all because the manga got so popular that people decided that the fictional card game should become a real one. However, the established rules within the manga were so loose and convoluted that it was just more reasonable to take the general templating and aesthetics and just build a whole new rule set around them.
Okay, I was wrong. Okay, even at the, okay, I get what the YouTuber here is trying to say. That when it came out, obviously it wasn't like that, right? It was weird. It took like its time so that it was actually like that. Like the card game was actually like the anime. But right now, the card game has evolved so much because of the power creep that it's nothing like the anime, right? And people who were really into the anime want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And they are like, what is this? This is not Yu-Gi-Oh! What is this? I'm just sitting here watching my opponent play.
This rule set would then be adopted by the manga and anime going forward with the Battle City arc, and then from there the manga and anime worked in chorus with the actual card game, with the manga serving as the source for many cards that you can go out and play today. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has shifted and changed a lot over the years too, getting more complicated with each new era to a point where even as new series come out alongside their respective cards, there was still difficulty conveying just how the actual card game worked within the actual show. They added new archetypes and summoning mechanics, and to this day, Yugiboomers will seethe with rage if you show them the pendulum scales on it. And part of that is because
that's me, I'm the Yugiboomer. I still think pendulums are overly complicated. I think they are cool, some of them, but the fact that they work differently than the other cards makes them not intuitive in the context of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah.
because the show that they remember watching and growing up was way more simple than the card game that they actually were met with in
That's
reality.
exactly it.
To spare you a whole talk on Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck building and to keep things as simple as I can when talking about a game like this, Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks are built to be consistent and fast. Many of the best decks have very set lines of play, and these lines of play are often designed to end the game as quickly as possible. Even more back and forth games tend to go much quicker than you'd find in a game like Magic the Gathering. It makes more sense narratively speaking then to give characters non-optimal decks with cards that make for interesting scenarios as opposed to being the actual best cards. Otherwise, you'd be watching Kaiba go through the same exact combo every match and probably defeat his opponents before they even have much chance to play at all. So
No, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want to see an anime like that. I went the other way around. Now I don't want the game to be like the anime. I want an anime that is like the game. That's what I want. I want the back and forth to happen in one turn, not to the course of different turns. That's what I want.
instead of filling decks full of searchers and multiple copies of the only relevant and powerful cards, they instead throw in a bunch of actual garbage. It's a solution that does make for back and forth duels for sure, but it does also mean that there's a certain disconnect for viewers who were actually invested with the game at the time. These players are touted as phenomenal, yet their deck building skills are below the level of anything competitive even in the very beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh's infancy. I cannot stress how little Yu-Gi-Oh! The original anime follows anything close to an actual proper meta. Even beyond that, people react to cards as if nobody's ever played them against them before, and it feels like once somebody has claimed a deck as their deck, nobody will ever have access to those cards, or ever be able to read them or see what they do. And in some cases, that's actually true. It's something that's kind of glossed over because it's like so early on. Kaiba is the only person on the planet who can make and use a Blue Eyes deck. None of this is bad or anything. I'm not CinemaSins, I'm not gonna start nitpicking classic stories because Flame Swordsman wasn't the right type of monster.
What do you mean this is not a fusion? What? They did do the opposite exactly once. That two players break said out loud, "My hand is perfect," then both had to pass turn one. Yeah, I saw that. That is one of the best thing ever. They did it once. I need that. I need a whole anime like that. I need a whole anime with situations like that. Because that is the most relatable that Yugioh has ever been. Sadly, it was just a 2 minutes clip.
Ooh, but it is a little silly to see students at Duel Academy gawk at Yugi's super powerful deck, but then it's just full of unplayable cards like Feral Imp. There's just this disconnect, and in a way it feels like a necessary sacrifice at some levels, because Yu-Gi-Oh! As a game has never really worked for these high-stakes back-and-forth struggles.
A whole season where everyone breaks. That is, I need that. I need that.
If the fate of the world rests on a best-of-1 game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Held by a real-world understanding of that game, we're totally doomed. Sometime we're gonna lose that die roll and get completely comboed on and just lose the game, and then, oh, I guess the world's ended. And that brings me to the topic of today's video, the manga OCG structures. It's a
Well, that's the actual name. In the series, cards are ridiculously scarce and barely available for purchase. That's the only explanation for the characters deck. That is not true. They get a lot of cards in Duel Academy. I don't remember, like once a week they just get new packs of cards and they all buy them and they get like sandwiches and stuff, right? So like the cards come from everywhere. And they have like a well where the people throw the cards that they consider useless. And that's where Chaz deck came from. That's where the Oyama come from.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga. And
actually not. He got it from the ice place, right? When he went to the other academy, but then he got some other cards from there.
Of today's video, the manga OCG structures. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, and at the surface level, it may seem somewhat similar to stuff you've seen before.
It looks very Yu-Gi-Oh!
Wild-haired kid, he meets other weird-haired kids, they start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Together, things spiral out from there. What sets this apart from something like GX or 5Ds is that this takes place in the real world. Our setting is Tokyo, not Domino City or something like that. In fact, those other Yu-Gi-Oh! Series like GX and 5Ds, they exist as fictional properties within the world of OCG structures. This is
that sounds so awesome! Yes! Why is this not an anime? Why do you make a good manga for Yu-Gi-Oh! Players? Don't you know Yu-Gi-Oh! Players don't know how to read? How do you expect me to enjoy this if I have to read it? What the hell?
Manga ostensibly about the real world, where Yu-Gi-Oh! Holograms exist and kids can have anime hair, but other than that, it's just our world. OCG Structures also actively aims to capture the feeling of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself. Characters use decks that see actual meta play and actually build them somewhat competently. They're not throwing in cards like Beaver Warrior or Kunai with Chain, they're actually building real decks that you could see show up at an actual event. Of course, not every deck shown is an actual top-tier meta threat, but the manga is usually self-aware about that, pointing out when a matchup is lopsided or a deck is kind of missing pieces that otherwise should have to be actually competent. But I think I've gotten just a little bit ahead of myself. OCG Structures is an ongoing manga that was first published in V-Jump in June of 2019. It is both written and drawn by Masashi Sato, who previously did the art for the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds manga.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Kinda like Digimon Tamers, where Digimon is a game in their world. I haven't watched Digimon Tamers. Oof. So the students of Duel Academy lack any deck building skills. I mean, you can tell that in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime, like all the students they just suck. They just suck. They are so bad. They are so bad at the game. I don't know. Like if you see the duels with the Obelisk blue players, they're like horrible. they're horrible. Chat, like most of you, even saying no, not Sane. So Sane was obviously the best player in the academy. There were like 6 characters, like maybe 10 characters that actually knew what they were doing, right? Like, but basically every like not named character just like sucked. The Everest Blues are always the jobbers. I don't know what that means. That's what they are, just students. It takes a PhD to know to know you be better off with Waboku than Hero Barrier. What? That's a weird way to put it, but you're 100% right. You get a PhD in dueling, yeah. And also, I know you're saying that, oh yeah, they are students, but you don't understand. They are in the best dueling academy of all, right? They are in the best dueling academy. They are not just, it's not just a random school. It's supposed to be, I don't know if it's the best, but they're in a top academy and you need to pass an exam to join. It's not anyone can join the academy. You have to pass like an important duel against someone who knows they're doing. So you really need a certain level of skill to even join. But it seems like the people there are like as clueless as it can be. Yeah, like didn't someone have tell Jaden about Miracle Fusion and he was surprised Pikachu face when he found out that he confused monsters in the grave? I think that happened, right? It's like Jaden finds out about so many effects like during the duels of his own cards sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. Sadly, you know, people don't care much about when the most you hear about it nowadays is that there is cosplayer who acts as the anime characters. Oh boy. Same place, Cyber Barrier Dragon. That's a, well, at the time was still bad, but you don't understand. It was to farm aura, okay? To aura farm, yes, that's what I meant to say. Same was a bigger cheater than Yugi. He started with we are going, no, I'm not gonna, I already made a mistake by addressing that comment. An exam that Cyrus passed with roids. Okay, if you put it like that, I think you're into something. Forget Cyrus. Chumley got in with koalas. Okay, but to be fair, Chumley wasn't graduating because he was like a bad student. He was a really bad student, so he was not meant to graduate until, you know, things happen. Recently, the dual writer of Yu-Gi-Oh revealed that the reason players summoned in face-up defense GX was because they wanted to feel important when they could make Jaden hide he has a 2000 defense. Well, in the anime they put like face-up defense monster because it's just like better, right? It looks it looks better in the anime instead of just set cards. There's been a running theme in general. Everyone has their own battle interference trap, and all of them were worse than Waboku. Yeah. Oh, cool. You're watching my video? Yeah. I mean, the video you suggested, yes. Face up is better for presentation, so you can see the most. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the reason that makes sense. There are more academies. Yes, in the anime there is more than one academy, right? Because in season 3, well, if season 1 you see the rival academy, that is the one that Chas goes to, right? And then in season 3 you see the academy for all the oh, what is it called? The inter something students, where they come from different schools. I don't know what it's called. Change? Is interchange? No, what is it called? I don't know this term in English. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at this. It's not interchange, right? What is it called? When the students come from a different school to join your school. Dude, what am I focusing on this? I don't know. No, it's not inter-high, no. What is it called? Don't know, but whatever Aster Phoenix came from. No. Like Jesse and exchange students. Thank you so much. Exchange students. Yeah, thank you, Pablo. Oh my god. The exchange students from different academies, right? And Axel came from America, right? And Jesse came from Europe, I'm pretty sure. And Amon, what was his name in the order? Amon? I don't remember his name in English. You're thinking of exchange students, but they were just visiting. They weren't exchange students. They were literally just visiting. That's so funny. Okay, I'm missing a little bit of lore there. In Japan, I think the schools were from Japan, but for some reason, Jim fell from a different country. No, no, no. Axel was from America. Jim was from Australia. You're right. It still shows there are different academies. Yeah, yeah, of course. I won't name the names, but it rhymes with Schmade and Schmooky. It was a long visit. You're right, you're right, you're right. That's what I think. I thought it was an exchange thing. Alright, let's keep watching the video, otherwise we're never gonna finish it.
Like other Yu-Gi-Oh series like 5Ds, OCG Structures was created not to function as the primary series, but instead was created with the intent of being a way to introduce new or younger players to the ideas and strategies of the actual card game. In a sense, OCG Structures, more than other Yu-Gi-Oh media, actively aims to help people learn and get better at the game alongside telling its main story. Structures isn't informing any upcoming card releases, but is instead actively informed by them, showing off how to play these new decks and teaching people what they're like.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Like, imagine if you're just facing like someone in locals, just in locals, right? And you just learn what they are playing. You just know their win condition because you have read this manga. That would be so funny. That would be. I will be so proud of myself to know how to counter certain deck. Yeah, let's an example, right? Like if you already I seen in a manga like a K9 player and you're like, oh yeah, they activate their effects when there is cards from hand, right? It's so nice. So what I have to do is not activate cards from hand, and then I'm fine. Yeah, it's probably more complicated than that, but you know what I mean.
OCG Structures has a very clear target audience in mind, and I think it's very clearly exemplified by its protagonist Shoma. Shoma is from the countryside, and while he's always loved Yu-Gi-Oh!, he's from a town that really doesn't have a proper place to play it. He'd get packs way late, and he'd only really have his sister to play with. And when she moved to Tokyo for a job 3 years ago, he completely lost anyone to play with at all and was stuck playing with himself.
Bro, this is the most realistic thing ever. This is the most realistic thing ever. You know, having a hobby that before the internet, right? But even if you have a hobby that requires like be there IRL and you don't have friends to do it, it sucks. It sucks so much. So I totally get this. Honestly, true. Maybe I'm wrong, but doesn't the new Yu-Gi-Oh manga follow the rules? Like they recently had Malice in it. Isn't it this one? Isn't it this one? The manga that that what you're talking about? We can steamroll every other protagonist at the same time. Yeah, I can see it. This hits heavy. Yeah, I'm already on board. I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this definitely.
One day his sister offers to let him live with her in Tokyo, and he instantly accepts, knowing it'll finally be his chance to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With other actual people. He's excitable and naive.
With actual people.
Nervous about new players, yet quick-witted and eager to learn. In a sense, Shoma makes the perfect novice in that way, and while he's not really a novice when it comes to his actual dueling and deck-building skills, he is completely clueless when it comes to the structure of Yu-Gi-Oh! Events, as well as just how to approach people.
This is literally me. Literally me, chat. I went to a card game store the other day. I went to a card store, and this was literally me. And you know what's weird, chat? Everyone is younger. No, well, not everyone is younger than me, but a lot of people are like younger than me, and it just feels weird to be like this socially awkward when I'm supposed to be the older one. I feel like the older people there are probably the most seasoned players, right? They are people that have been into the game for a long time. So it's weird to seeing someone like my age that doesn't know anything. Oh my god, that sucks so much. Now that I think about it, I find it kind of like a unique experience. I'm sure it's not like, well, not unique is not the word, but it's like an uncommon experience maybe.
and actually get to know them and play with them. As such, the reader follows Shoma as he learns to move from casual play to actually getting involved with his local Yugioh scene, something which is probably quite relevant for a lot of V-Jump's young readers. The first chapter sees Shoma arrive at a proper card shop for the first time and get his ID to enter events. He's so thrilled by the idea of playing in an event for the first time that he equates this ID to basically being an Egyptian god card in terms of value, and is practically falling over himself with the chance to get to play with another human being. Of course, he's also horribly shy and doesn't really know how to talk to people, so he has to get help from one of the employees at the shop. From there, he's guided to...
Dude, shut up. Oh my god. This is describing me. Oh my god. This is...
release event where players are building decks with cards they got from packs they just opened up. This leads to him being paired with another kid named Strong in the first round, and the two become quick friends from there.
8,000 LP.
Meets the rest of Strong's friends, and our core friend group of the series is formed, and instead of veering off into something paranormal, the series just kind of remains focused on playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For the sake of playing the game. The kids all actually do sometimes lean into the tropes like taking damage whenever they're hit, or doing big over-the-top summoning.
What is this? Oh my god, dude.
Chance whenever they do their monsters, but it's all for show. It's them recognizing the show they like and trying to emulate it. It's fake blood packs, and these summoning chants don't really do anything. It's just these dorky kids who really love Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing into the tropes that were set up by the shows that they watched.
I should just go like to locals, like dressed as like okay, with Yu-Gi-Oh! Character fashion, right? With a scarf like that and chains and a lot of belts. Yeah.
A character like Psychic Tendo, for example.
Oh
At
my
a first
God.
glance, he might give off very similar vibes to a villain of the week like Weevil Underwood.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
He carries the proper abrasive attitude, and it makes him feel like a Weevil analog from the onset.
Dude, I bet this guy plays Raptrix.
But in truth, he's actually just a fairly average nerdy kid who is just really intense about dueling. He gets heated and says rude things in the moment, but generally does mean well. He's just as quick to have a moment of emotional
In real life, this guy says slurs because he thinks it's cool.
honesty, where he cries with his friends over losing an important match as he is to berate them for getting emotional about a duel in the first place. There's no villainy to him, and in general, there's not really any villains to defeat at all. Struggles and conflicts are the sort of interpersonal and minor gripes that really come with being, tweens. Every character in the manga
Okay, I need to see
minor
that.
gripes that really come with being, tweens.
Let's not forget that my brother had a teenager photo shoot when he turned 13, pre-teen. Oh.
Every character in the manga really just wears their passion for the game on their sleeves. There's Anna Des, the card shop employee who always shows up in a full tour guide from the underworld cosplay and speaks in hell and death-related puns, who rounds out the main cast. Her and all the others really do sell this vibe of a group of friends who came together just because they really do love a
This is
game.
the most beautiful
that
thing
games
ever.
are
Hello,
important to
Hector.
them, but it also doesn't dominate their entire lives. Characters will voice frustrations over not having time to duel thanks to cram school or long shifts at work, and even the most zealous Yu-Gi-Oh! Players and structures will have real life get in the way sometimes. It's a
Wait, could you imagine the manga suddenly shifting into paranormal and taking everything they learn into a final showdown? That's literally what happened in GX, right? Like it was also, oh yeah. Well, aside from that Jaden could see the Win Kuribo, right? Out of nowhere, it's like, oh yeah, the students are disappearing. Shadow games? What is this? Yeah, it's kind of what happened. Yeah.
pretty stark contrast to the core mainline series, where the world progressively finds itself more and more warped around this card game to a point where there's whole schools. It's like the entire point of society.
There is paranormal
It's
stuff?
a mess. It's a lovely mess, but it is kind of a mess. It's kind of hard to believe that a card game could become this prolific in our world. So when we do see a manga that actually takes place in our world, it sells like fairly authentic look at it. It's heightened for sure. What slice of life manga isn't, over the top or dramatic, throwing in those little embellishments, never fully feels realistic, not by any means, but it really does sell an authenticity to its narrative, and there's an actual emotional core there. The manga manages to extend this level of veracity also not just to these characters, but also to the duels themselves. One of the first major story arcs of OCG structures is a Team 3v3 event going on at the shop, where the winning team wins some very fancy metal prize cards. Shoma, Strong, and Misguide form a team and have very little trouble advancing to the finals, where they face off against the team consisting of Shoma.
Wait, hold on. Isn't she the shop person? She participate? Oh, I guess they are not in the... Wait, they are? I don't know.
Other friends and rivals at the time. Misguide loses the first match of the finals, meaning both Shoma and Strong need to win their matches or else it's all over for them. Up to this point, Shoma has only ever really dueled for fun, and when he steps up to duel Tendo in this match, the only member of this friend group he's never been able to beat up to this point, his nerves start to get the better of him. He starts misplaying and overextending into Tendo's board because he's just so nervous about losing a match that he feels like he cannot afford to lose. Now, if we're being very literal, Shoma can afford to lose. The only downside here to losing is that he won't win those prize cards. And it's not like he needs those prize cards to sell them to save the shop or whatever. He just wants to help his friends win because he knows how much it means to them. So to him, on a personal level, this is a duel he can't afford to lose. It may not be as high stakes as dueling for death like Yugi or Judai had to deal with, but for Shoma and for many young players in their first real major event, it will be enough to shake them this hard. Once Shoma does manage to shake off his jitters thanks to the help of his friends, he's then met with a card specifically designed to give players pause.
Wait, that's the actual card. That's the actual card right there. That's awesome.
Max C. To any
oh, right. I didn't even realize that was Max C.
With a card specifically designed to give players pause.
I didn't realize that's Max C. That's so funny.
Max C. To any of you watching this video who are active Yu-Gi-Oh fans, you are very well aware of just how notorious this card is. I'm not going to get into the Max C debate. You're free to yell in the comments about it if you really must, but this
You said actual villain as if no one, like everyone in the chat has Max C in their deck, okay? So don't even start. Also, Max C is legal in Japan.
Catastrophic Cockroach allows its owner to draw one card every time their opponent special summons a monster that turn. That means if Shoma wants to actively try and win the game this turn, which he really does have to because Tendo's going to be able to rebuild his board very easily on the next turn, he has to worry about giving Tendo even more cards on the next turn potentially, especially since Tendo could potentially draw a card that could stop Shoma's turn right then and there. This is a
Yeah, but this is from a narrative point where they can just not add that in. No, they have to, otherwise it wouldn't be realistic.
Common scenario in many Yu-Gi-Oh formats where Max C is legal, where the pressure of Max C potentially giving the opponent an out is enough to force a player to forego their actual plays and take a more safe line that will draw the opponent less cards and go for a longer game. Shoma decides to take the risk and go for the game-winning line despite Max C, playing enough cards to eventually actually beat Tendo that turn without him ever finding the card he needed to actually stop Shoma. People are shocked to see the risky move, but commend Shoma for being able to recognize he had to take that risk to secure the win.
Virtual World
at the surface might seem no different than, say, Yugi destroying the moon to beat Mako to a casual viewer.
No.
In practice, these two are very different scenes. Yugi's wins are always earned, but they are never really something a player could truly follow along with. A random new card
okay. You cannot actually do this. You will never be Yugi. Chat, I know what you're thinking, but I have to tell you the truth. You will never be Yugi. You will never be the king of games. But you can be the guy from the structure thing.
For this character to have, or a certain situation that will never actually come up just happens to come up in this one case, or in many cases outright paranormal influence or cheating comes into play. These are all interesting things, and I don't think any of
I don't think you're allowed to do this at locals. Oh my god. Oh my god. You will never have this perfectly coiffed hair. Totally not. Not like we wanted to cheat our way into victory. Oh my god, here we go.
These are actually bad, but they're never really things that a player can really count on or really expect to fully follow along with. The rules aren't really fully established for the player, and there's not really a baseline to compare things on, especially in the early days when there really wasn't any actual card game to base things on in the first place. And I really do want to stress that I'm not trying to disparage the original Duel Monsters.
Of course not, it's just different.
I adore the manga to this very day and think it still holds up, but it doesn't really hit on the same level of appeal that Structures does. Structures centers itself on being a story about the nitty-gritty of that card game and the people who play it. The original series has life or death stakes with adventure and peril around every turn. Meanwhile, Structures keeps a fairly basic plot structure, but in turn is able to focus more on the game itself.
No, you understand. I know this is literally life or death, but sometimes when you really care about your hobby and your passion and whatever, it feels life or death. It really feels life or death. I know it's not, but if you really think about it, it feels like that.
Yugi can't really afford to lose any duels when most of his duels are actively competing for if he can live or not. In comparison, Shoma's worst outcome is that he'll be letting someone down a little, and honestly, they won't be that let down, if anything.
But it's realistic, and that's why it's like easier to identify with it, because everyone has been in a situation like that. It's because we play for the sake of the game, not because of prizes. But I mean, winning is not about the prize. It's about that, okay, at least for me, I want to project myself into everyone, right? But like for me, winning means that I did a good job, right? It feels awesome to your deck building and the practice and, you know, reading your cards and learning the game is actually like getting results. It's cool. It feels nice. It's the satisfaction of overcoming my opponent. That is also true. See? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. I feel like we can all agree on that. That is more realistic, obviously.
That means while it's very rare that Yugi's ever going to take a loss, Shoma, on the other hand, actively does take a lot of losses. It's a part of the process of learning new decks, and it really does feel accurate to the experience.
Okay, hold on. Going back, don't you think, I mean, at least for me, I don't know if it was for you, like the duel between Joey and Kaiba felt way more personal and way more important and way higher stakes than, oh, I'm talking Battle City, right? Battle City finals. That the duel between Yugi and Marik, because the duel between Yugi and Marik, you know Yugi's gonna win, right? Obviously. Because it's the fate of the world, right? But between Kaiba and Joey, there is literally no stakes. Like that literally does not matter. That is not gonna change anything. But for the characters, it's huge because it's their pride. What do you mean? Kaiba didn't care? Because Kaiba was so confident that he was gonna win. So we, as the audience, we're seeing like, oh, it will be so awesome if he loses to Joey, right? And obviously we're all rooting for Joey, right? But that duel didn't matter. Kaiba would have cared immensely if Joey won. Exactly, Pyro Noah. We? No, yeah. Yet the best duel in all the anime series is Brave Max versus Random Hanoi. So I have no idea what you're talking about. I actually don't know what that means. Maybe I'm missing something. But yeah, you know what I mean.
You're not going to win everything, you're not going to be some king of games right away, and sometimes you'll try something out and it just won't work. They're different types of stories, both using the same card game, with Structures in particular taking actual care to present the scenarios in the card game that feel actually authentic. The very
okay, I get what you
talked about is a very authentic example of this. The Max C challenge is not only relatable pressure for most players, but Shoma's eagerness to play through it when he really had to is the sort of move that can actually catch a reader who's already invested in Yu-Gi-Oh! A bit off guard and wonder how he'll actually wind up succeeding. In a sense,
I mean, it's used for Joy, but Kaiba didn't care, and Joy lost, so nothing came out of it for Kaiba. Yeah, obviously, in retrospective, now we know that nothing changed, right? But when watching it for the first time, and you think, like, if Joy actually pulls it off, Kaiba is gonna like kill himself. Like, you don't understand. It matters. It matters at the time. Like, I don't understand how you could say that it doesn't matter. Yes, in Minecraft, of course, obviously, right? It is a big deal. It was a big deal at the time. I know Kaiba was like so confident that it seemed like he didn't care because he was just like so confident. But he could have lost, and if he lost, then he would have cared. The whole story would have been different if he loses to Joy. He's gonna burn himself with the three blue eyes, and so nobody else can have it. Yeah.
Many of the duels and structures kind of play out in a way sort of similar to mystery stories, in a sense where like the reader can actively try and guess what will happen based on the clues they've been presented. In the original series, many of the decisive moments come down to the literal heart of the cards, or sometimes a sudden new rule or effect that a card had that we just didn't know about before. Whereas in structures, if you have a working knowledge of how these cards work, you can very likely piece together what's going to happen or what.
Wait, yeah, the cards can come out before, like after the anime, so we have no way of knowing. In here, like, we actually have the benefit of hindsight. We already know where it's gonna go when someone already starts like they just show the card. We already know how that's gonna go.
Plays a character might make. This is especially true given that both decks featured in this chapter were actually
oh my god, the guy.
Tendo is playing Eldritch, Shoma is on Virtual World, and this is a matchup that was fairly common at both low and high levels of play at the time of the chapter's release, and is a matchup you'll still probably even see sometimes today on Master Duel or at a local card shop.
Well.
Neither of these players only played these decks either. In fact, these were the first times these decks ever showed up in these characters' hands. Unlike other...
Awesome. Oh, the hell. Kaiba went into like, fine, this guy wants to duel, I'll clap him really quick. But his tone changed when Joy was actually putting up a fight and stole his blue eyes. That was so awesome, dude. That was so awesome. That was the coolest thing ever. Is there a TES anime? Was Joy about to defeat Kaiba? We need to watch that. But people like it. Oh yeah, no. That duel between the Brave Max and the Soldier is because it's relatable. Yeah, that's what it is. People love that.
Other Yu-Gi-Oh stories, characters just don't stay on a singular deck throughout the entire series. Even a duelist well known to have a favorite deck will sometimes pull out a secondary deck, or even just try something new for the heck of it. Tendo in particular is very in tune with the meta, part of why he runs cards like Max C in the first place. He's trying to qualify for Worlds, and thus he's always changing his deck to be whatever is best currently.
Oh my god, I love this. I love that a lot. We needed a character like that in Yugioh. I'm reading this. There is no way. I'm definitely reading this. That is so cool.
Beyond even playing the game, Structures puts more focus on deck construction more than any other piece of Yu-Gi-Oh media that I've seen. Its most fantastical element by far in its narrative is that Shoma has a kind of mind palace where he goes and actually talks to the members of the archetype that he's looking to build. He'll give them some advice as well as making some lighthearted tongue-in-cheek jokes about how some of these decks are sometimes not so great or maybe missing some pieces they really should have by now. I don't think a single Yu-Gi-Oh anime or manga or whatever before has ever hinted at the idea of ratios and other deck building concepts. Meanwhile, right from the onset, Structures is talking about how Playstarter should be run at 3 and how sometimes it's a smart call to add cards from another archetype to make your personal deck stronger. OCG Structures
this is awesome.
references
I love this.
details like players should probably put sleeves on their decks, or how rules and ban lists will update and change over time and you have to be up to date with those. These moments are usually done in fairly natural ways, like Shoma realizing he needs to sleeve up his cards before playing in the event, or with people commenting on the recent ban list as Tendo plays his busted-ass Sprite deck. To an already enfranchised player who knows these basic details, they come up with charming little world-building details that show that the author really knows what they're talking about. And to the newer players that this is really targeted at, these moments serve as genuine pointers sprinkled throughout the manga that give...
Wait, there is a Kaiba versus Joy analysis video. Okay. I guess this stream is gonna last like 1 more hour.
players actual good advice for starting out. And because there is such care given to the actual deck building and other details around the card game, it tracks that the actual card game itself maintains a more authentic feel in the manga too. In Structures, if a character adds a card to their hand and sets it, their opponent will generally keep in mind what that card is and what its effects are. There's no being surprised by a card you've seen 3 times already in the same show. There's a genuine sense of strategy as characters internally catalog what interruptions and pieces of interaction their opponent might have and the best ways of potentially dealing with them. There are multiple duels where a character realizes that they've run out of ways to stop the other player and the duel is essentially over right then and there.
So
Players
real.
actively try and defeat each other on the first turn, and games only tend to go longer than that because those plays were stopped by some form of interaction. The manga does of course shortcut some things. One of its favorite tactics is to just skip the actual comboing phase and kind of cut to the player having already established their end board, and then focus on the interaction between the 2 players as one attempts to shoot to the other one's board.
That's awesome. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. You just skip the combo phase. You don't need to see the whole thing. You just see the end board. You can skip. Oh, you know how you do it in the anime? If this was adapted, you could just you see the character starting a combo, and then you instantly swap to the side characters talking to each other, saying like, oh yeah, I've seen this combo before, the end board is gonna be this, and these are the interruptions, right? And then you instantly go back and the combo is already done. So you already get all of it. You already get all of it. It's so awesome. Why is this not an anime? Oh my god. What the anime does is have people not know the face up. Yeah. But this they know in this. Except if you're a novice player playing something, right? So that's why it's cool to have like a player like that. It's a realistic protagonist.
I certainly wouldn't call Structures an actual teaching tool by any means, however it does have...
Wait, the author does explain the combo at the end of the manga? Wow. Oof. That is someone who actually loves what they're doing. That's amazing.
A good bit of genuinely clever tips and tech for the game that often showcase important interactions that players will need to learn eventually. The manga never really goes as far as to try and teach you how to set a monster or what fusion summoning is. It doesn't bother with any of that really basic level stuff, and instead focuses on actual teaching moments relevant to situations for local level play. By aiming for beginners, yet giving them more advanced deck building and card interaction tips, Structures does a pretty fine job of helping its readers improve even in more subtle ways. I think OCG Structures is great. It's a charming series that both captures the joy of hanging out and playing card games as a kid, and is the closest any piece of media has gotten to really conveying a fictionalized match of Yu-Gi-Oh! In a way that's both accurate and entertaining. The only real shame is that it's not exactly the easiest series to share and talk about.
Why?
OCG Structures is written specifically for a non-Western audience. For those not aware...
Really? Is it? Well, how different could it be? Because it's... I've been watching this for 19 minutes and this feels pretty relatable already.
OCG is a term that can refer to a few different things, although primarily it's the version of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's played in Japan, Korea, China, and other countries.
Oh, because it's the OCG and not the TCG? I don't think that matters at all.
That's a comparison to the TCG that exists in the West. OCG Structure specifically pertains to the OCG version of Yu-Gi-Oh! As one might expect.
Yeah, it's a different ban list, yeah.
Black Seed isn't even a legal card to play in the TCG, whereas it's perfectly legal in the OCG. This doesn't mean that the information in Structures is worthless to a TCG player. Both formats share the cards and general game rules, and the differences lie more in distributions, events, and ban lists. But the fact that Structures is so clearly made for the OCG means that it's very unlikely Konami will ever push it towards a proper release in the West, where releases don't line up, and generally speaking it's kind of a different card game. As cynical as it sounds, the process of translating it just doesn't sound worth it for Konami when they'd be translating it for people who do not play the OCG in the first place.
But is it that different? Like, it's just like a few cards that are in, like, the ban list is a little different, and I know there is technically like 1 or 2 ruling things that you're never gonna like experience. Like, well, I'm every now and then, I guess, but it's so small. The core concept still stays there. I don't know.
As such, Structures exist in a somewhat weird state for Western fans. There is an English fan translation that's currently ongoing thanks to Neo Arcadia, but only one person can do so much when they're the single translator, so it's several chapters behind the most recent V-Jump issue.
No.
It really is hard to say what's in store for the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a property. The game has been seeing unprecedented shifts in design and power lately, and the manga and anime side of things has kind of just fallen to the wayside in the West. The main animated series of recent years has been focused on the alternate format known as Rush Duels, which Konami really hasn't wanted to localize in the West for some reason. We all know why. And in the realm of manga, beyond the Rush Duels mangas that also aren't getting localized, there's really just structures, as well as the recent OCG stories, but that's more of just an anthology series about the actual lore of the cards, not really about anybody.
Which is also cool, honestly.
I really don't think Structures is set for an anime adaptation or localization anytime soon, or honestly ever. But I do hope
it's been 3 years, definitely not happening.
For whatever the next chapters are in Yu-Gi-Oh's narrative pursuits. I used to think that Yu-Gi-Oh manga and anime purposely shied away from being more true to the card game because it would be difficult to keep the spirit of the story when everyone's trying to FTK each other and hand traps are flying like crazy. But Structure showed me that Yu-Gi-Oh as a game doesn't have to hold back its manga, but it can instead actually elevate it. Structures isn't written for people like me. I am an in-franchise player who doesn't need to be told where to get my Konami ID, and even then I play a format entirely different from the one that Structures sets out to market. But as a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, I do get plenty out of reading Structures. Even with just the couple dozen of already translated chapters I've read, I've found plenty of characters and moments that I thought were really fun that I'll probably remember for a long time.
I just realized something, which is, I feel like this, like the TCG OCG argument makes no sense to me, because I can enjoy like a tennis anime, like I can I can enjoy something about a sport that I don't care about if it's a good story, right? Like I was having like the time of my life watching like Haikyuu, even though I don't give a shit about volleyball, but the characters are cool, right? And a lot of people during this time, like Kuroko no Basket, right? They are like, they love it and they are never gonna play basketball. And I can just enjoy the story for the characters, and if the story's already explained in the game, I can follow it, right? Because it's not about the games themselves. It's cool, right? When you get into the game, because it shows like the author has a love for the game. So even though I don't give a shit about volleyball, just watching the like Haikyuu and seeing how the characters talk about it, they make me care about it. They make me care about it. So I don't feel like the TCG OCG should be, because it's essentially the same game. So even if it wasn't, it still is. And someone who enjoys any card game, or like to be fair, any one-on-one strategy game, like even a fighting game player will relate to the idea of this, I'm pretty sure. Anyone who likes a good story. I don't know, dude. I don't know. The original manga had romance, sorta. It was really downplayed in. I don't know any of that. It's still Yugioh, right? At the end of the day, it's still Yugioh, so I don't feel like that shouldn't be an argument.
If you're curious about Structures and want to give it a look yourself, I highly recommend it. There are no official places to read Structures if you're in the West, but there are multiple websites I'm sure you could find that host.
You're 100% right. Most people will go from this to masterduel, and masterduel is still like a combined thing, so at the end, it doesn't matter.
Those fan translations that are already out there. You're not going to find some crazy sweeping plot or a deeply gripping character drama, but you are going to find a Yu-Gi-Oh manga that's not afraid to lean into the game it's based on and openly revel in just how fun it can be sometimes. The Yu-Gi-Oh community, like most online fandoms really, is kind of predisposed to this general feeling of negativity, and I really can't fault most people for it. When your game is run by a company like Konami, you kind of are a bit jaded by default. But sometimes it really can feel like people really invested in Yu-Gi-Oh still really just kind of dislike it, and spend most of their time talking about it, just grumbling about how much it sucks. Reading something like Structures really just kind of help put into perspective just what makes this game so fun and what drove drove me to play it in the first place. Every character has their own interests and goals and opinions on things, yet at the end of the day, they all play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it just makes them happy. For Tendo, it's because he feels smart and successful, and victory is just what's important to him. He likes to show off his deck building skills and his prowess with the meta, and he's just naturally very competitive. Sometimes he can get too frustrated and says some mean things, but he never really loses sight of his competitive spirit and his good nature. For someone like Shoma, dueling is a way for him to put himself out there. He's always loved this game since first getting his hands on these cards, and he loves to play with others in part because it's the best way to get to know them. The kids will sometimes argue and have hurt feelings over things, but it's always this genuine core of loving the game and caring about each other that radiates through every scene and structures. I've been rambling on for too long.
No, I love it. Please continue.
Here. In some ways, by removing the more fantastical side of Yu-Gi-Oh! Stories, I feel more than ever we've actually been able to find a Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga that really is about loving the game. It may not be perfect or the most in-depth story, but I think Structures is really something special. It's a little piece of Yu-Gi-Oh! It shows you just how much love there is in this community, from the random players to the artists working in the game to the people making the manga to all the people, both young and old, who are staying with the game even now. Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't a perfect game, and it's kind of a piece of shit if you ask some people, and they're kind of right. It's a lovable mess, but I really do think this game is something special, and I think Structures, more than most manga, really wants to celebrate that feeling of how Yu-Gi-Oh! Brings people together and has kept us together for all this time. If you're going to look into...
Yeah, and it's not just Yu-Gi-Oh! It's about like any hobby like this. Well, it doesn't have to be a hobby, right? But something that you engage like this in the fandom too.
Structures, you should go into it looking for that. More than just seeing cool interactions or seeing like people trying to like play through negates and stuff. I think it's the core of loving Yu-Gi-Oh! That's important, because at the end of the day, people who still love this children's card game do still love it for a reason, and it's a pretty good one. I don't want to...
But that's an interesting comment. Real talk, Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually feels like they care about the game more than Hasbro cares about Magic and Pokemon Company cares about the Pokemon TCG. Magic is from Hasbro? The hell? To give Konami credit? I don't know enough about Magic, and I only partially know some things about the Pokemon TCG, but the Pokemon TCG is fine. What is this? Let me summon Draco Tail Artalion on the Las Vegas Sphere. We're talking about the holograms, right? Like, I got a kid into Yu-Gi-Oh! By letting him pull packs with me, and he sold his Pokemon cards to buy a box set, and he pulled a Seer Evil Twin Lila card that was worth $70 at the time. I like how he showed good money. Meanwhile, TCG Pocket costs more. Same with Pokemon card packs. Boxes cost near twice as much. Wait, really? TCG Pocket costs that much money? Interesting. Nintendo does want to protect their IP in general, and the card games was an afterthought originally. But I feel like it's a good game. I don't know. Oh, the scalpers is a different thing. To be fair. The collectible part of the Pokemon TCG is very different to the competitive side. You can get a competitive deck for very cheap, actually. Getting a competitive Pokemon TCG deck is really cheap if you don't want the full art, secret, rare stuff, right? If you just want to play the game, you can play it for very cheap. Which is something that you cannot say about Yu-Gi-Oh! No. So, yeah.
Keep you too long for this obligatory outro spiel. I just want to thank you for sticking around and watching this. I make these videos just because I really want to make them. I'm not trying to really push this as a career or anything. I'm just making videos that speak to me, and I at least tend to be more active on here. I'm aiming for about one video every month or so, give or take a few days, because I'm not going to give myself any firm deadlines like that.
No, I
If
like
you
it.
wanna
I like
hear
it. I
more
like it. I
about
like it.
potential
I'm
upcoming
subscribing and I'm
projects or
liking because
just
that's really good.
inane bullshit that comes out of my mouth, you can go find me on Twitter at uncrownedjewels, or just, stick around and wait to see whatever else I post. I'm not gonna beg you to subscribe.
No,
Only
I already
subscribe
subscribed.
if you feel like it's worthwhile to you, because I'm just gonna be here regardless, making my stuff, and if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to pull up a seat to the table. In the meantime, though, I just want to thank you again for sticking around and listening to me ramble on about this dumb little manga that I like, and I hope that you have a lovely day. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Uncrowned Jewels. Uncrowned Jewels. A funny name now that I think about it. Honestly, I really like the video. The video really sold me on it because it felt like a friend recommending something. It didn't feel like a video essay exactly, like a review. It felt more like someone just talking about what they like, and it just happens that is also that something that I really connected to, right? And I really liked. So awesome video, really good recommendation. So yeah, can you link their channel? It's gonna be in the description, obviously. But here's the name, Uncrowned Jewels. You can see it here. It's always on screen. Yeah, so check them out. And yeah, what can I say? I'm definitely reading this. I'm sold. I'm reading the whole thing. I will let you know how that goes. So yeah, thank you so much for recommending.